is going on, guys? Welcome to a brand new video. Today we're going to be going over fair value gaps, alright? Fair value gaps, and yeah, this is when stuff starts to get a little juicy. But yeah, I like fair value gaps. Um, Fair value gaps are cool. They're like one of my favorite confluences. Or, well, not confluences, but like, I don't know, I just think they're cool. I like learning. I sound autistic. I'm just going to go and. Wait, there you go. Now I sound better. Sorry. I sound really far away for a sec. But let's get into this, all right? So, what are fair value gaps? Let me put you guys on. Hold on. Whoops. I hope I'm not showing anything I shouldn't on here. Okay, I'm not. Okay. We're going to go over here. All right, so fair value gap. So, right here. A fair value gap is a range where there is lots of orders. It consists of a gap between the first candle's wick and a third candle's wick. Usually price likes to draw back into these ranges, and if it reacts by going into it and bouncing up and down, it's more likely to keep going into that direction. So this is pretty much what a fair value gap is. It consists of one candle, 2, 3 candles, and the wick of the first candle and the wick of the third candle have to create a gap between the body of this middle candle, right? And pretty much, um, let me give you guys some examples here on the charts. So, I hope I did not reveal anything on here. No, I don't think I did. Okay. All right, cool. Oh wait, never mind. I'm on the charts. Sorry. I have my browser on. That's why, and I was editing a video and stuff, and I just hope I didn't like show off any like information on my YouTube channel or something. But let's go into the trading view here. All right, so fair value gap. So let's see, where is some fair value gaps? All right, we have one right here, right? I think the 5-minute probably has more. So fair value gap right here. Here's the fair value gap. Now we call these, so when price is going up, when there's 3 green candles like this, we call this usually a bullish fair value gap. So this would be a bullish fair value gap where there's a space between the first wick of the first candle, or the wick of the first candle, and the wick of the third candle. And there has to be a body. It's important that there's a body in between, because without the body, there's no fair value gap, right? Like, I don't know if I can find an example. If I do find an example, I'll show you guys. But right here, this is a perfect example of a fair value gap, right? So there's a wick right here, and a body in the middle. And usually what happens with fair value gaps is that when price comes up and comes up all the way over here and comes down, it usually, well, not usually, but sometimes it'll come into these ranges, which fair value gaps is what we know them as. And when it comes into the fair value gap, it has a chance of going up. And if we know if it does, it'll most likely keep going that direction. And obviously we know that because it keeps going up just like that. And I'll show you guys some examples of fair value gaps where this does happen, right? So for example, let's hop on the 2-minute because there's going to be more, maybe on the 15-minute actually. So here, we have a fair value gap right here, right? Up here, look at this, fair value gap. We got a gap, and what does price do when it comes into here? It bounces out. But this isn't always the case, right? So there's times where there is a fair value gap, like for example, like right here, there's a fair value gap, but price rejects it. It doesn't bounce off of it. Usually people think, oh well, there's a fair value gap, that means it's just gonna bounce, so it should theoretically go here and then go up, right? Wrong. That is not always the case. So this is a good thing to know, but don't always count on this. Don't always think that will always bounce out or that will respect, because there are times where it doesn't actually respect, but my strategy revolves around fair value gaps getting disrespected, which I will get into another video. But Right now we're just learning the basics. So for example, right here, fair value gap, boom, we tap into this fair value gap and then we bounce up. Over here, we have a huge fair value gap. We come back into it and then we bounce. And then I'll show you some bearish ones right here. So there's a bearish fair value gap up here. We come into it and then we bounce out. Same with this right here. There's a fair value gap right here. We come into this and then bounce out. Hold on, am I recording? I am recording. Okay, just making sure. We have another one right here. Right, so this one's actually not too. Never mind, this is a terrible one. I thought it was lower the candle. Let's see. I mean, we got a bullish one right here. Fair value gap. We come back, tap into this, and then we bounce out. So yeah, you get the deal. Like there's a fair value gap right here. So this is kind of like it's kind of like liquidity sweeps instead of it being like highs or lows. For example, we're looking for gaps. We're looking for gaps between the candles. And the gaps between the candles can give us a better idea of where price wants to go. So for example, if there's a fair value gap right here and it's a tiny one, like this, right here, you see the first wick, third wick, and then there's a body in the middle, and we see that we see this, and we see price come into it and respect it, and it doesn't close out of this. If this candle were to like close all the way down here under the fair value gap, this would be invalid. It would be an invalid bullish fair value gap. So let me give you guys some notes. So there's a fair value gap needs a body right in the middle between the first wick and the third wick, or sorry, first candle and third candle. All right. Bullish fair value gaps, which means bullish means going up. So bullish fair value gaps usually sorry, I'm sorry guys. I'm not a good teacher, man. I'm literally not a good teacher. I'm literally messing up. I haven't had this plan. I'm just literally recording this off the fly. But bullish fair value gaps when retraced into when retraced into or traced into whatever you want to call it, usually bounce up. And then bearish fair value gaps, which I'll give you guys more examples of those. Bearish fair value gaps do the opposite. And they bounce down. So we got those three. And I'll show you guys a bearish fair value gap in a second. Here. Nah, that's not a good one. Got one right here. All right, so we got a fair value gap all the way over here. It's a little small, but it's right here. Sorry, I thought there was something crawling on me. But look at this, right? So when we finally retrace into this fair value gap that formed all the way over here, what happens? We go down. So usually when that happens, for example, oh, there's another one right here. This is a huge one. Huge fair value gap right here. This is a bearish fair value gap. So this would be a bearish fair value gap. And what happens when we retrace back into this area, this fair value gap? Right? We push down. What happens when we retrace? There's some here, but we'll combine these two right here. What happens when we retrace back into this fair value gap? We push down. What happens when we retrace into these fair value gaps down here, up here? We push down. What happens when we retrace into these? We push down. Dude, it's like crazy. It's crazy, man. It's really insane that this stuff actually pops up and works, man. What happens when we retrace into this fair value gap down here? I mean, technically there's there's only one right here. What happens when we retrace into this? Bounce up. It's crazy, dude. It's so crazy. Like, for example, there's another one right here, bro. And this one is not as obvious, but like, what happens when we retrace into this? Boom, bounce up. There's another one right here. This one's a little bit more of a weirder one, but it still counts. So there's a small one right here. What happens when we bounce into this? Push up, and we push into it again, and we push up. It's crazy, dude. It's crazy. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Catch this. Catch this, bro. Boom. Fair value gap all the way over here. Really far away. Bro, what happens? We tap into it. Boom. We push up. And it's crazy because look at this. There's also a sweep of liquidity connected to that fair value gap. So not only do you have a sweep where there's a low right here and there's a low over here, and we like this low pushes past this low right here, but there's also a fair value gap, and this creates the best possible setups, guys. Guys, write this down. This is the most important thing I'm gonna tell you, right? Or one of the most important things. Liquidity sweeps paired with fair value gaps have a very insanely good chance of respecting. And you can see it right here, right? Look at this. Let me show you another example, right? Right here. We got a liquidity sweep, right? We're combining these concepts, right? Liquidity sweep plus a fair value gap right under it. What happens? Market pushes up, right? And we can say the same with bearish ones. Let me try to see if I can find a bearish one. Trying to find a good one right here. I feel like I might have missed one, but all right. Well, we'll just use this example, right? So there's a high up here. Boom. This candle right here, right? Boom. What happens? There's a fair value gap up here. Okay, it actually does not even touch this one. I thought it did. Maybe on the 5-minute. Oh, I don't even know where I am, dude. Okay. Well, I mean, there kind of is a fair value gap up here, but I don't think it reaches. Okay, let's look at the 1 hour. Let me delete all these because there's so many drawings here. Dude, why is there like none? It's because like we're trending up. That's why. Like look at the way we're going up here. We're just trending up. I need to find something where we're kind of trending down, but there's no like actual good liquidity sweeps on this. Let me look on the 5-minute. All right, we found an example right here. So, what do we have right here? We have a liquidity sweep right up here, right? Right? There's a high up here, and there's a high right here. And this high pushes past this high, so we know for sure it's a liquidity sweep. But what confirms it is the price that the direction that the price is moving. But we also have a fair value gap, which extremely helps. Extremely helps that extremely like helps, I guess. It makes the probability of us winning and us seeing that price reject out of that range much higher, if that makes sense. And dude, it's crazy how many times this pops up. Like there's a like look at this. All right, we have a liquidity sweep right here, right? We also have a fair value gap right underneath. And what happens, dude? Price just moves up. It moves up. From this range with this fair value gap, price just completely just shoots up like crazy. And it's crazy. Once you guys start pairing the liquidity sweeps with the fair value gaps, I mostly just wanted to teach you guys fair value gaps, but if you guys can combine the two concepts together, dude, you guys are going to be monsters. You guys are going to be monsters because once you can do that, dude, it's insane. It's insane. So liquidity sweep, write that down. Liquidity sweeps paired with fair value gaps. Um, uh, has a higher probability of just a regular fair value gap pushing out because regular fair value gaps, they're nice, but they're not as consistent as a liquidity sweep with a fair value gap. And I just showed you guys many examples where um, there was a liquidity sweep plus a fair value gap, and we completely bounced out of that. Like for example, like look at this, dude. I mean, there's a giant fair value gap up here. And by the way, I do want to mention, guys, that um, you can combine fair value gaps. So, for example, up here, um, you see how there's a fair value gap right here, right? There's a fair value gap right here. But there's also one right here. It's a very small one, but that still counts. So what do? We combine them. All right, guys, I want you to do that. I want you to combine fair value gaps when you see them stuck together like this. Like, for example, there's one right here as well. There's one fair value gap right here. And there's also another one right here. What do you want to do? I want you guys to combine them. Combine both of these fair value gaps because it just makes it easier than just having one. So when you see two fair value gaps paired together like this, I want you guys to combine them because it just makes it easier and it'll help you get a better, like, I guess you'll understand more, I guess, of why price is doing or why it's bouncing out. Because sometimes it'll bounce out of, for example, it'll bounce out of this fair value gap right here. Like price will come into this and bounce out, but it won't like come all the way down into this fair value gap over here. So the reason why we combine them together is because sometimes it'll only like push it to one and not the other, but technically they're both one. So keep that in mind. So two fair value gaps next to each other should always be paired. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. We covered two fair value gaps being paired next to each other. Fair value gaps combined with liquidity sweeps are great. Oh, and I do want to mention bigger fair value gaps are better. So the bigger the fair value gap is, the more higher chance there is, right? You don't want to look for small, tiny fair value gaps. You want good, nice fair value gaps. Like for example, like these, like where are they? Something like dude, like I mean technically like this is a fair value gap right here, but like that's just ugly. You don't want those fair value. You want those big, thick, fat fair value gaps. All right. You want those thick, fat fair value gaps. You want them to be nice and thick and juicy. And yeah, never mind. I'm gonna stop talking. But like, yeah. So bigger fair value gaps are better. We don't like the small ones. We like the big ones. All right. Who cares about personality? We need big ones. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Pretty much it. Um, there's the bullish fair value gaps, which is the ones with the green candles, and then the bearish fair value gaps, which it would be like a red candle, usually a red candle here, red candle here, and red candle here. It's three red candles. I mean, that one doesn't have a red candle, but that would be a bearish fair value gap. Usually, price when it draws into a bearish fair value gap, for example, boom, 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 and then there's a fair value gap right here. Oh, that's a terrible drawing, dude. Oh my gosh. All right, bro, what? All right, let's just say these are three red candles right here. Um, and there's a fair value gap right here. This would be a bearish. Bearish. But if it was the other way around, um, if it was the other way around, then this would be bullish. All right. So this is bullish. If price is going up and it creates a fair value gap. Because usually when it bounces into this, it'll bounce up. But for the other way, it's the other way around where it's like there's a bearish, it comes into the fair value gap, bounces down, right? So I just wanted to give you guys a visual representation. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys, for fair value gaps. If you guys do need more information, I have it all in my Discord. But otherwise, guys, yeah, it's gonna be all in the link in the description. The link is in the description, dude. I'm having a stroke. But anyways, thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe. We're gonna be posting more videos like these. So yeah, I hope to see you guys win in 2026. That's crazy that we're in 2026 now, but yeah, I'll see you guys later. I'm probably about to hit the gym soon, to be honest. But yeah, I hope to catch you guys on the next video. Dude, I'm like burping like crazy. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.